Welcome to the Rebirth Podcast. My name is Caitlinhill. I have been on a massive journey of self-discovery since becoming a mom. I'm curious to find out how we can be the best version of ourselves as women and mothers, and how that has a ripple effect on the rest of the world. I am so honored to have you listening here today. Please take a deep breath and welcome to the space. Hey everyone, welcome to the Rebirth Podcast. My name is Caitlinhill. If you are new here, please subscribe, follow, like, and share with everyone that you know. It means a lot to me to also get feedback on my podcast of different topics that you want to hear, and just to tell me how you think I'm doing or how it relates to you, or maybe a takeaway that you had from it. It means so much to me and in the growth of this podcast that I know that I get feedback on it. So I would really, really appreciate that. I haven't recorded something for a while now. We've actually just finished summer. We've just started going into fall here in Vancouver, and we were actually away for the last month. We were traveling around in the south of France. Matisse's family is from there, so we were just having the best time ever. And I always think that I'm gonna carve out some time to do a podcast or to work on these types of trips. But we were just totally on vacation mode the whole time and just honestly having the best time ever and loving life. And it was just such a needed trip because it's actually the first time that we've been to Europe since having the girls. So Matisse and I went together 8 years ago. And Safia will be, oh my gosh, she's turning 7 in a few months. So yeah, we haven't been since we've had the kids. So it was such a big trip for us because we wanted, obviously, Matisse's family to meet the girls. And there was just so many people to see and so many things to do. And it's just really lovely to be able to travel somewhere and to know people. When we travel, we're the type of people that like to just immerse ourselves in the culture. I don't ever want to be like a tourist, which is so funny because obviously we are tourists, but we kind of like to camouflage ourselves in as if we're actually from the place that we're traveling to. So it's so funny to say that, but it's actually what we like to do. So yeah, we definitely did that in France, and oh man, I literally actually can't even put the experience into words how incredible it was. And the girls were just so immersed in it, and Safia did three years of French school, and obviously Matisse's family is French, so they were speaking a lot of French by the time we left, and it was just, it was so amazing. Swimming every day, eating the best food, lots of ice cream, and just, yeah, lots of sunshine. So it was really, really special. And that kind of leads me into actually what I wanted to talk about today, because this is our first year that we're doing homeschooling. And it's honestly something that I never thought that I would ever do. It just kind of naturally evolved into us doing it. Yeah, never thought I was going to be a homeschooling mom, that's for sure. So, I mean, there's so many different things that led us to this place of doing it this year and to starting it. And I'm definitely coming from so much of a beginner's mindset, as always, as I try to be with everything. There's always so much to learn about every single topic, but especially right now, I am so in the place of, whoa, this is all so new to me. But then at the same time, it feels really natural and normal. I think that homeschooling is just an extension of our parenting. I'm not trying to look at it as if, oh my God, it's this separate thing from my relationship with my kids, or I'm going to turn into this different person when I'm homeschooling, or I'm not even really trying to fully recreate what it's like to be in a classroom. Although I am bringing in elements of it, I'm also all at the same time, just finding what works as we start off this new journey. So, and also finding it really interesting to balance between having a 6-year-old, where she's at with her learning level, and, having 3-year-old twins, and just kind of balancing out what their different needs are. They're in totally different positions. For example, I'm a huge believer in Waldorf education, and Safia was actually in Waldorf last year. And so we've really integrated that into how we will be homeschooling and the curriculum of Waldorf. So when it comes to Elio and Rumi and still Safia until, we're slowly kind of starting to integrate more academics into her, rhythm. But with Elio and Rumi, it is play. Play is the most important thing right now. I'm starting to integrate more painting with them, more watercolor paintings, wet on wet paintings, and they're around a lot of cooking and cleaning and things around the house that are appropriate for their age. And I think the most important thing for them is rhythm and predictability and, finding ways for them to know what's coming next in our day. So that's going to be the most important part for us, I think, is finding a rhythm, finding a weekly rhythm of what's going to work for all of us. And so that they know what's coming the next day or in the next hour. They can kind of start setting up, okay, like we've had lunch, and so that means now it's time to clean up the table, and then we're moving on to this activity or going to this place or whatever. But they kind of know inside that that's what's coming next. And then for Safia, I'm starting to integrate more reading. And that for me, even though, because she actually did go to 3 years of public French school, so she's already familiar with the letters and the sounds that they make, but I'm actually wanting to just rewind us back to the beginning and learn the letters again. And I actually have these really cute letters from Etsy that I'm going to be putting up. And I want to spend a good week with each letter and just go over, okay, if we put up the letter A, for that week, we talk about all of the different words that start with the letter A. And then going really, really, really slowly from there. Not pushing reading too intensely. We're definitely going to start reading some fairy tales, and that will be from books that don't have a lot of pictures in them. Actually, it's going to be all mostly from just their, when I'm reading it out to her, and it will be to all three of them, because I'm not going to be okay, now I'm reading with Safia alone. When you have multiple kids, it's you're integrating them in all of these things too. But with fairy tales, a lot of it will be me reading the book and then imagining, okay, this is what it looks like to me. And then maybe the next day, I can even get Safia to draw out what that looked like to her in her mind. And so really focusing on things like that. And then also when it comes to math, it'll be more okay, if we're measuring, 3 cups of something, how many half cups will it take to get to 3 cups, or, a cup and a half or something like that. Kind of really just doing more life math rather than sitting down and doing 2 + 2 = 4 or whatever. And maybe we can do that with stones or something like that. Just really starting really slow, I think, is the takeaway here, is what we're wanting to integrate into our lives when it comes to homeschooling. So yeah, I was talking a little bit about rhythm before and what that's going to look like. And one of the things that we've actually just started getting ready to do, again, we actually started doing this before the summer, but I feel during the summer, we don't really have a rhythm anyways, which is amazing. And that's what summer is all about, is just kind of going with the flow and being more spontaneous and, oh, it's a sunny day, let's go to the beach. There's not too much of a structure or schedule. And now going into this new season, into the fall, having much more of a container that's, supporting us, and it can, and kids like to know what's coming next. That's a gift for them to feel like they know what's going on. It really helps them out emotionally, and I notice that there's quite a few less emotional outbursts when they kind of have that intuitive knowing of what's coming next in their schedule or in their day. So so we started doing this before the summertime, and we're actually starting up again this next week, which will be having set days for what they're having for breakfast. So for example, on Monday, we'll have, scrambled eggs. On Tuesday, we'll have oatmeal. And then every single day of the week, there'll be a different breakfast for each day. And that for every week, we'll have the exact same thing. So Safia actually did that last year when she was at Waldorf school for lunch, and it really helped her know the days of the week, and it made her so excited for the next day, because she would be like, oh my gosh, tomorrow is soup day or tomorrow is bread day. And so she kind of, it didn't really matter like, okay, is that like Thursday or Friday or Saturday? It was like more about an inner knowing inside of her of what was coming next, the next day. And I really love that. And that's such a strong example of what a rhythm can look like, is just figuring out like, okay, on this day, we're going to do this thing, and getting excited for it and knowing that that's what's coming next. Even I get excited about just talking about it clearly. So that we're really looking forward to starting, and doing more specific crafts on certain days. For example, okay, maybe on Mondays we'll be doing wax modeling, or Tuesdays we'll be doing wet paintings, or whatever, you know, we can obviously kind of adjust once we actually write it out, but doing certain things like that. And also with Safia, we will be starting knitting this year, which I'm really excited for. She was actually doing finger knitting last year, and it's an incredible task to have, and it's so good for their fine motor skills, and just like focusing on doing a certain thing and completing it and being like, I made this, you know, that there's so much fulfillment that comes from that. So yeah, that's kind of where we're getting started. I have purchased a curriculum. It's through a company called Lavender Blue, and it really resonated with me the most. I think it's good for the early years. It seems pretty simple and sweet, and it was, yeah, it's not over the top. And I actually, I don't even mean over the top. I just mean, I think it's just good for us right now, in terms of what we're needing. You know, it's not like we're focusing on, okay, what are we doing for this lesson plan or this block or this time? It really is more simplified in terms of like, okay, even creating a circle time. You know, what does that look like? What does the song look like that goes along with that? And starting with those kind of more basic things. So yeah, we'll be using that curriculum, and that will be just for Safia. And we're still working on figuring out a schedule that we're actually going to be starting this next week, but where there will be one-on-one time with me and Safia, or one-on-one time with Matisse and Safia, where they can focus more on, reading and writing. She's really interested in doing handwriting, which I think is so cool, because it's not something that's taught in school anymore, is handwriting. So I think it's really cool that she's feeling really drawn to doing that. And I love handwriting, so I think it's a really good skill to have. We're also doing homeschool meetups, meeting up with other friends during the week that are also homeschooling and doing nature school as well. The girls will be doing a few hours of that a week, a couple days, and just kind of like, yeah, finding out what works for us. It's so funny though, because when we came back from France, it was kind of like, okay, we're going to start school now, and this is what it's going to look like. But the thing is that for the last month, they were literally learning a new language, a new culture, swimming every single day, you know, discovering nature and discovering outdoors and playing. And, you know, we were at the beach one day, and the girls just started piling up all of this seaweed together that had blown in from a storm the night before. And I was thinking to myself, wow, this is so amazing for cooperation, because they were really sharing together. Like, one of them was bringing over, you know, one handful of the seaweed, and then the next was coming over and handing over another handful of seaweed, and they were like, had this kind of rhythm and flow that they had created themselves. I was like, wow, this is school, you know, like, we don't have to just sit down and be like, okay, I'm learning this thing now in order to learn. Like, kids are already learning and absorbing everything on a daily basis already. And just like we are as adults, we're always taking things in and we're always learning. And I think it's really important to not pressure or tell kids that they need to learn specific things at certain times, because maybe they're just not ready for it. And when they are ready for it, they're going to learn it like that. And just kind of like being aware of what they're at and what level they're at, and really taking the time to stop and like ask yourself, how do my kids learn? Like maybe one kid learns one way and another kid learns another way, and they're completely different learners, but taking the time to even learn that and understand that, I think is really key, because everyone learns differently. Before I forget, I also wanted to mention an incredible TED Talk by Sir Ken Robinson, and it's called Do Schools Kill Creativity? And this TED Talk really blew my mind, because kids are basically all just geniuses until we maybe try to wake them up out of this state that they're already in. Like they're already in this state of just absorbing everything. 0 to 7 is the most important time in a child's life. It's the building blocks that build them up for the rest of their future. And it's really important to be mindful of what it is that they're being exposed to and what it is that they're consuming. Not just with food and water. It's like, what are they taking in? What kind of materials are they learning? Because it might be interfering with their creativity and their imagination. And I think that it's really important to allow those 7 years to just let them play and let them get dirty, let them be outside, let them play in the sand, let them collect rocks, do all those kinds of things. Like let them really get out there and be one with nature. And the academics and the learning and that portion and that side can come later. But don't rush this childhood into thinking that making them learn things faster is going to make them smarter later on, because it's quite the opposite. And so that's what I really liked about this TED Talk, was that it talks about how, kids are geniuses from when they're born. We don't really have to interfere with their learning or their education at all. And so I think that it's important to know that even if they are going to, full-time school, that there are certain things that you can be doing at home as well to help them with their education and help them learn, or not even education, but just to help them, their minds expand and evolve. And I think that life skills are so incredibly important. When it comes to learning, these are the things that are really going to help us long term. And yeah, I think those were some of the reasons. I mean, there's so many reasons why we decided to homeschool, but those are some of the driving forces for me, is really, letting my kids just be and not fill their schedules with so many things that all the time. Because the thing is that childhood anxiety is really on the rise. And I often wonder, is that come from parents just trying to pack their kids' schedules with, a million different things to keep them busy? Because it doesn't actually benefit the child. The child needs to have time to relax and rest and take in all that they've learned. And all those things can come later on, much, much later on, even after 9 years old, when they are able to absorb more information. So I'm so excited to be getting started on this journey, and I plan on sharing a lot more around homeschooling and and how it's going for us, and sort of, just in general. I'd also like to get some of other homeschooling moms on the podcast to talk about how their journey is going with it as well. And yeah, I'm just really excited. It feels like it's different and it's new, and we'll see, it could be amazing. We could absolutely love it. Or by next year, I could be like, this isn't for us. I think we can also just evaluate every year how we want to do this, and we don't have to be stuck or married to any particular plan every year. So we'll see how it goes, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But I definitely feel right now that it feels very much in alignment. And let me tell you, I am at a stage in my life where this is the stage I always want to be in, where everything that I do is either a full body yes, or it's a full body no. And right now I feel like homeschooling is a full body yes for us. And if something comes along in the future where it's like, okay, no, you know what? That actually feels like a full body yes, then we will do that thing. But I don't have any time anymore for things that are in the middle, things that are maybe fine, yeah, okay, it's mediocre, yes, I'm just gonna say yes to this because I'm supposed to. I don't have time for that anymore. I do not. I literally am just like, I'm all in or I'm all out, but I'm not in the middle. So that's how I feel about homeschooling right now. I'm really excited for it. I'm so stoked. I'm so passionate. I'm so ready. And also like recognizing and realizing that I am learning just as much as they are. This isn't like I know everything and I'm, you know, I'm a parenting expert. I'm right there with you. Like I'm learning how to do this as well. And I think that the kids really appreciate that, because then you're just showing that you're a human being and you're along on this ride and journey with them and not trying to like act like I know everything. So I'm so excited for this. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I am really, really grateful that you're here. And if you are new to this podcast, please subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're listening, please follow and share, or share an insight with me that you took from this, or something that maybe helped you, or that you learned from this, because it helps me so much to know that you guys are listening and your takeaways from this. It really inspires me to keep this podcast going. So that really helps me out a lot too. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have the best day ever. And I'm sending you so much love to wherever you're at on your journey. I am just sending love to you. Thank you so much for listening. Ciao for now.